There are those who long for something they know that they will never attain. They suffer as though there is nothing they can do to change this. They live in a society in which they feel powerless and alienated as the world seems to go on without them. Incels stands for involuntarily celibate. Generally, incels believe that sex is something they are entitled to and blame external forces for their predicament. Incels often meet online on forums and image boards to discuss their experiences with women, or lack thereof. Over time, these communities have brought about their own ideologies and specialised terms to classify the world as they see it.
Incel is a term that is overall very relatively new, and a lot of people give it different definitions. The definition that we give it on the site is someone who is not able to get into a relationship, a romantic relationship, despite wanting to. Now, a lot of people have been self-defined as incels, even though we don't believe they are. For example, you have, 16-year-olds, right? That they're in high school, and they want to enter a relationship, which is very natural at that stage. However, they find that a lot of girls don't want them. And while that certainly would mean that the person is incel, at the same time, puberty is a time where mentally and physically we are changing constantly. So at the same time, being high school is a very dynamic situation where things change very quickly. So it's very hard to say that a person that is changing so much, both himself and in terms of context, would be an incel. But the exact definition would be someone who is not able to find a person to engage in romantic or sexual relationships.
They see people in society as having different perceptions of the way that relationships work, different ideologies that borrow their names from the movie The Matrix: the blue pill, the red pill, and the black pill. The blue pill is attributed to people outside of incel communities, normal people, normies. This is the view that personality is the most important factor when it comes to finding a romantic partner. If you just be yourself, someone out there will be attracted to you. Leading on from this, the red pill asserts that instead of men's inherent personalities, their looks and attitudes are more important when approaching women. This approach places importance on the way men style themselves, dress, and act. Finally, the black pill is the most fatalistic worldview. It states that the only thing that truly matters is attractiveness. One's face and body structure are the driving forces which make women attracted to them. Although the red pill beliefs might help somewhat, it hardly matters in the grand scheme of things.
I identify as an incel, an involuntary celibate. I think the main reason for my inceldom is that my social skills aren't good enough to get a partner. If I don't have to talk to people, then I won't. But if I do have to, for work or for whatever, then I'll get straight to the point. I guess it might be some form of autism. I get straight to the point, and I don't really small talk at all. I don't really socialise at all. I don't go down the pub after work with people or that kind of thing. Anything sort of extracurricular that would take time away from me being in my room or at home or whatever, I just don't do, and I haven't done for many years. In an ideal world, I would like to be with someone, but with how I am, I don't think that'll ever really happen. I don't think that anything would be different if I did get a girlfriend. If I ever did get a partner, they'd have to be very similar to myself, because I'm not particularly interested in changing myself, which is a bit, I don't know if selfish or what, but I don't want to change my personality or hobbies for other people. If I met someone else who was very similar to me, then great, but I wouldn't go out my way to change myself. That being said, I don't approach women because I know I'll get rejected. I don't particularly want to be in a relationship that badly anyway, because it'll take away my personal time.
Recently, incels have seen increased popularity in mainstream media. This is largely due to several men with similar motivations as incels: anger at rejection and misogyny, namely Elliot Rodger and Alec Manassian, who murdered 7 and 10 people respectively. Elliot was idolised following his suicide, with some incels dubbing him Saint Elliot and praising his murderers as revenge against the normies that he perceived as having ruined his life. This has led to a reputation of virgins who act out violently because they can't find partners, a reputation which has then gone on to be associated with the incel community at large.
It's kind of funny because every time that something pops up about incels, it's always so wrong. And, just like you managed to contact me on the website, anyone can do so, and I always answer his email. So it's so amazing that the media hasn't tried to get in touch with me more. I'm not saying that I'm like the all-important incel in the world, but, considering that I run the most, I guess, important site, besides the subreddits on Reddit, right? The most important site on the web regarding incels, I'm surprised no one has come to me before. We get very little requests for information. But yes, the media has not, in my opinion at least, portrayed incels nicely at all. In fact, the only time that incels appear on the media is when a massacre happens, which was like twice, I think. And the media the media tries to label a community of thousands and thousands of people as killers for one guy. So that's kind of not nice, to say the least. I mean, I get why the media would do that, obviously, because they're the media and they will always do stuff like that, abuse and all that. But if the only time that incels appear on the media is when bad things happen, obviously everyone is going to think that incels are a bad thing. But it's not like that. Well, at least that's what I think.
Although the incel community can be bitter towards outsiders, who they see as having what they lack, the ability to enjoy romantic relationships with somebody, this rage is usually self-contained. They live in a society in which they don't fit, and while there may be a minority of the growing community that are angry at their situation and direct this anger towards others, many of them have accepted their place as self-loathing outcasts and simply choose to despair online about it. But what do outsiders think of the incel movement? There are entire communities built around the mocking of incels, like the Incel Tears subreddit, which takes screenshots of incel comments and shares them for amusement. Popular YouTube philosopher ContraPoints discussed the issue in her video, Incels.
For a significant subset of the incel community, their primary hatred is not directed at themselves, but at women. And they really hate women. We're talking blaming women for rape, saying they deserve to be raped, calls for state-mandated girlfriends and sex slaves, but most of all just a kind of generalized, misinformed rage. They live in this cartoon caricature world where it's easy to avoid thinking of women as fully human. And that's where my sympathy runs dry, because this kind of hatred just needs a spark to turn to violence.
Things could change as the world is beginning to take note of the incel community, since, whenever they show up in the media, news broadcasts will inevitably have to try and explain them to their audiences. High-profile killers and banned online communities draw more and more people to find out exactly what incels are. Popular discourse focuses on the negative sides, perhaps forgetting to ask why these men, and some women, become this way and end up trapped in this line of thinking. Maybe the solution is to approach the root of the problem before time runs out.